Hi everybody, and we're ready for the next daily read this week. Sometimes it's great to read books that take you to faraway places that you've never been to before, but other times it's good to read stories about places you do know. So today's read is set in Dubai, and I wonder if you will recognise any familiar places within this story. The book is called Hamza and the Sky Climber of Dubai. Fulfilling your dreams is like touching and tickling the sky. Burj Khalifa grew and grew. It didn't stop growing until it touched the sky and observed everyone from the roof of the world. Hamza liked to see it at night when it floated closer to the stars. It was impossible to imagine Dubai without this giant. I like how the text is written on the page in this story. You'll notice it's in different ways. Early in the morning, when the clouds caught in spirals around the skyscraper, Hamza dreamed about the exhausted birds rising in balloons and parachutists in business suits landing on the boulevard. It's a funny way to get to work. Imagine 276 elephants on top of each other like a long ladder, the teacher said, trying to explain Burj Khalifa's size. The bottom of Hamza's feet tickled as he visualised one of the elephants touching the top of the tower with the tip of its trunk. Skyscraper to scratch the itch of the sky, joked Hamza, but nobody in the class understood his witticism. Well, almost nobody, because Samir was laughing out loud in the corner. Hamza and Samir had been best friends ever since they could remember, partners in adventure, the inseparables as the teacher used to call them sometimes. They were always together, whether they were rescuing the turtles trapped near Jumeirah Beach or being intrigued by the shape of the Burj Al Arab. When their families went on picnics in the deserts, they waxed towards and slid down the slippery hills of sand. They liked to trace the camels' footprints over the dunes in Al Mamoon and look around the stables of pure-blood horses near Al Quoz. They even volunteered to work as nurses at the Dubai Falcon Hospital. They weren't into TV and video games, definitely not. Step by step, they could spend whole afternoons exploring Dubai, and, as happened increasingly on every adventure, they ended up fascinated by those strange creatures called skyscrapers. Once, on the tram towards Marina Bay, they couldn't resist any more, and inspired by the magnificent skyline of Dubai, they began to draw. Magical ladders, flying tops, robots and pirate ships were captured on paper, but what started as a hobby later became a regular activity. In a few weeks, Hamza and Samir had sketched an endless file of quirky skyscrapers. But the drawings weren't enough for them. Serious about the task, they created a squad of explorers. The Society of Awesome Skyscrapers, they called it. As founders, they declared Dubai the coolest, the tallest, and the most extraordinary city in the world. These are the Emirates Towers. Do you recognise those? Emirates Towers are one of the tallest twin towers in the world. They rise 309 and 354.6 metres respectively and were built in 52 months. Damat Park Towers. The twin crabs are 180 metres high each. KN Tower, a twisty candy, 307 metre rise. Dubai Business Bay Q14 Tower. The marvellous cheese is 250 metres high. And Jumeirah Beach. The pirate boat is 93 metres high and 275 metres long. They had fun exploring and drawing around the city until the day of the fight. Everything started when Hamza showed Samir one of his drawings, the one he'd been keeping to himself for a long time. Unexpectedly, Samir's reaction was harsh. He took the paper, looked it up and down, and scoffed openly. Hamza was upset. A member of the Society of Autumn Skyscrapers shouldn't do that, he thought. "Why do you find my sketch so funny?" he asked. Samir felt guilty, but he couldn't explain his feelings and didn't answer. The silence of his friends was painful for Hamza, therefore he walked away quietly. The truth was that Hamza's idea was astonishing and Samir was a little bit jealous about it. Sorrowfully, jealousy is like a bee sting. It hurts both people involved equally. The next day at school, Samir offered Hamza some dates with honey, hoping his resentment would pass. "I promise I'll never ever laugh at your ideas again," he apologised, but Hamza wasn't sure about it. "Why did you behave that way?" he asked. "Sometimes I feel your ideas are better than mine," Samir explained, "and it makes me mad." And Hamza, who had the same feeling about him sometimes, couldn't be mad anymore. After that confession, nothing else was said. They just gobbled up the treat and the truce was sealed. When school was over, Samir invited Hamza to spend some time with Faris, his older brother. Hamza was excited. He had waited to meet Samir's brother for a while. He knew that he had been working in the highest tower and he hoped that finally someone would understand his dreams. "This is Faris, he's a sky climber," said Samir proudly. Faris approached them, relaxed. "You're also a man of heights, according to what I've heard," he added, and Hamza nodded happily. "I've never met a sky climber before," said Hamza. "What do you do?" "A sky climber is a guardian. I take care of the skyscrapers from the dust and the rain," said Faris. Of course, Hamza and Samir told Faris about the Society of Awesome Skyscrapers and how much they wanted to be sky climbers too, as soon as their beards grew. "It's not that easy," Faris told them. "We hang like a pendulum off a clock, hundreds of meters up, and the fear is always prowling in unexpected places." "What does the fear look like?" asked Hamza. "I think it's invisible," replied Faris, "but sometimes I sense that the fog nudges me." "How do you defeat your fear then?" the boys asked. "Well, I whistle a lot," Faris joked. The conversation encouraged Hamza to show Faris his secret plan. The boy was nervous. Every detail he imagined since the first time he observed the Burj Khalifa was drawn in that paper. Silently, Faris analysed Hamza's idea, and after a few minutes he understood what it was all about. He smiled then and said to Hamza and Samir, "I can see an enormous, mighty silver ship ready to take off to the moon." Hamza couldn't believe what he was hearing. Since he was 4 years old, he'd been convinced Burj Khalifa was a huge rocket ready to conquer the sky. But as time passed and he got older, it was harder to explain this witty dream. But now, with Faris and Samir's help, the quest to the moon was closer than ever. Was Hamza the only kid dazzled by the Burj Khalifa? Of course not. The sky climbers had spotted marvellous creations of the giant tower made by the kids of Dubai, and every single one was awesome. But somehow they knew Hamza's dream was special. A few days later, Faris and 30 sky climbers got ready for another journey. The wind felt like a slap at that height, but it didn't matter. Something unique was about to happen. Hamza and Samir were invited to meet Faris at Burj Khalifa's main entrance. The kids couldn't keep back their excitement. Walking around Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Boulevard, the rigid structures of metal and glass began to take shape, and the colour of the Society of Awesome Skyscrapers archive. "Are we dreaming?" asked Hamza. "I don't think so," Samir replied, and pinched his arm. A full moon shone that night. Faris welcomed Samir and Hamza and led them to the elevator. All around resembled a giant machine. The floor was transparent and golden arcs in the centre created the form of a spacecraft. When a metallic door of the lift opened in front of them, Hamza felt a tickle in his feet. Without saying anything, Faris pressed the button that didn't even have a number. The boys felt the tug in their bellies, and zoom gazoom, they began to rise at the speed of a rocket. to the second floor, and before they could even take a breath, to the 30th and 44th, the 77th, and so on, until the elevator suddenly stopped. Hamza and Samir's hearts were pumping fast while the door opened. The night was falling and the wind broke the silence. It's strange that being so high I feel so small, Hamza told Faris. Faris said then, "You're commanding the trip to the highest place on the earth, and in front the moon is waiting for you." The sky climber was right. Almost at his fingertips, an enormous sphere was hanging in the sky. Hamza understood at last the meaning of his adventure. He had touched the top of the world indeed, but above all, he'd reached his most precious dream. Meanwhile, Faris and 30 sky climbers started to pull the ropes and the pulleys to go down the skyscraper, but before they said goodbye, they shook the hands of the kids with respect. Then, nobody else except Hamza heard it. The sky began to laugh, and so did he. The end. Hope you enjoyed today's story.